Hi there. Later, the gay sex party that wasn't. First though, Barack Obama's been bigging up the importance of gay friendships to the development of straight men. The former US president's been on his wife Michelle's IMO podcast. How on earth did she manage to secure such a high-profile guest? Says he learned a lot from having a gay professor at university.
At a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line. Who became one of my favorite professors and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness.
Obama brought same-sex marriage to America and included sexual orientation and gender identity in hate crime protections. Next, claims police in Tunisia continue to target LGBTQ+ people with mass arrests and lengthy jail terms. 14 held in the last week or so, if you go by a human rights group there, with 6 already sentenced to 2 years inside. It's illegal to be queer in the North African country. A previous crackdown saw 84 arrests between last September and January. And an update on last Thursday's story, the raid on what police had been labelling a gay sex party in Malaysia, where homosexuality is also against the law. Groups including Amnesty International claim it was actually an HIV awareness and health outreach event. They want police to address inaccuracies in their statements on this. 20 people were arrested at a bungalow in the northeastern state of Kelantan. No time to tell you that. This year's Bi Pride UK has been cancelled, but organisers say it will return for 2026. Staying in the UK, thousands of people have turned out for Glasgow Pride and Trans Pride Brighton. And gay Belgian tennis player Greet Minnens got married to a partner, Marie Diels. Hi there. Later, the beer bottle causing much gaiety. First though, a gay Venezuelan asylum seeker deported from America to a maximum security prison in El Salvador has been freed. Andre Hernandez Romero left his home country last year to escape persecution over his sexual orientation and was going through the legal process in the US. The makeup artist has spent 4 months in a jail notorious for its brutal conditions. He's now back in Venezuela. Democrat lawmaker Robert Garcia is working on Andre's case.
We know now he's alive. We've confirmed that. We've seen pictures. I've been talking to his lawyers, and now Andre, we're trying to make sure that he is safe right now in Venezuela. We do everything we can to protect him, make sure he has his due process rights.
The 31-year-old was released as part of a prisoner swap. There are calls now for his safe return to America. United Nations recommendations for dealing with anti-queer discrimination in Madagascar have been knocked back by the government there. It reckons they conflict with the laws and customs of the African country. The UN Human Rights Council recently suggested measures tackling discrimination, violence and hate speech, including a universal age of consent regardless of sexual orientation. And a bottle of beer with a kind of pointy rounded bottom for sticking in the sand at the beach looks like an item you'd stick somewhere else. The internet's having a gay old time with designer Ken Yabi's creation, which keeps your drink upright and secure when it's not in your hand. But some puerile gutter snipes are likening it to a pleasure device that involves insertion. ER Dr. Sam Garley's commented, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but do not even think about it." No time to tell you that. A mural of queer entertainer and civil rights activist Josephine Baker has been unveiled in Paris. And South Korean pop star Cherry has come out as trans. Hi there. Later, the alley of ill repute. First though, a call for prayers for an ex-gay Christian, who's on trial accused of promoting conversion therapy in Malta, where it's banned. Matthew Greck's charged over an interview he gave, claiming he'd left homosexuality and returned to God. Christian Concern says, pray justice is done so he's not imprisoned, looking at 5 months inside and a €5,000 fine. He says he's done nothing wrong.
I was sharing my story, sharing the hope that I have in Jesus Christ, my biblical faith, and I answered questions about counseling and why that is relevant and whether people can change. So it was a very civilized intellectual, scientific, and spiritual discussion.
A reminder, conversion therapy is a dangerous, discredited practice aimed at curing queer people. A verdict in the trial is due in October. LGBTQ+ ally and heavy metal icon Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. The Black Sabbath frontman was publicly supportive during the AIDS crisis of the 1980s, and when the notoriously anti-gay Westboro Baptist Church used his music during a protest, he criticised their messages of hate and evil. Ozzy had been living with Parkinson's disease since 2019. And a restored version of Badnam Basti, or Alley of Ill Repute, India's first LGBTQ+ film, is going to get a screening next month in Australia. The 1971 movie is all about a love triangle between two men and a woman, and subtly addresses their bisexuality, subtly so it could get past the censors. It was thought to be lost, but a print turned up in Berlin 6 years ago. There's a showing at Melbourne's Indian Film Festival on August 22nd. No time to tell you that. America's Olympic and Paralympic Committee has snuck out a ban on trans women competing in female sports. And the 2025 Euro Games kick off today in Lyon in France, the biggest queer-inclusive sporting event in Europe. Hi there. Later, when escaping LGBTQ+ indoctrination goes wrong. First though, a man's been sacked from his job at a library in the US for misgendering a transgender colleague. Luke Ash is a pastor at Stevendale Baptist Church in Louisiana. Yes, it's our old friend religion again. How we've missed you. Despite policies at the library to protect trans and non-binary staff, he says respecting his co-worker's identity would mean he was lying.
No malice or anything like that in my heart. I just refuse to use the preferred pronouns.
But that is malicious, surely. Anyway, do continue.
I believe that there are religious convictions and then there are other kinds of convictions. And when those things are in contradiction with one another, there has to be given preference to one or the other.
Yeah, so I'm going with the other, which always takes precedence over religious bigotry. Right-wingers are, of course, outraged and are trying to get the library defunded. Transgender people in Hong Kong will be allowed to use public toilets matching their gender identity. A judge has struck down regulations there following the case of a trans man going through a period where he lives consistently as male, so this takes in using gender-specific facilities. It's a requirement there for anyone wanting reassignment surgery or hormone treatment. The man argued for him to abide by this, he'd be criminalised. And a man who moved his family from America to Russia to escape LGBTQ+ indoctrination has been sent to the front line in Ukraine. That's despite promises from military officials this wouldn't happen to Texan Derek Huffman, who relocated with his wife and 3 girls in May. The 46-year-old's never fought before, his training was in Russian, funnily enough, which he doesn't speak, and his wife says he's been thrown to the wolves. No time to tell you that. Italy's highest courts ruled the non-biological mother in a lesbian partnership is entitled to paternity leave. Cuba's passed a law allowing trans people to change their gender markers on official documents without having surgery. And more than £800,000 for transgender healthcare has been announced in Northern Ireland. Hi there. Later, a trans and non-binary take on Twelfth Night. First though, a gay man in Australia who's frankly suffered enough with homophobic attacks is now being targeted by a notoriously bigoted radio show. Mikey O'Halloran was threatened and verbally abused by 5 men who turned up at his house, with a neighbour later convicted of unlawful assault. All to do with a hairdresser painting his house in Victoria in rainbow colours. The Kyle and Jackie O show's taken a call from another neighbour.
Oh, there's the photo. This is the ugliest looking joint you've ever seen. What's the occupant like?
He does bat for the other team. He's a nice guy, but he does.
A nice guy, even though
He's got a new party bus in the front lawn that's all painted the same colour, and it's called the Love Bus. So I don't know too much about that.
Where
does
the
that
sticky
go?
floor on that joint. It'll be so sticky.
yeah, it's actually an art studio. Mikey and his partner were also attacked by 4 teenagers with a machete using anti-gay slurs. But yeah, Kyle and Jackie O, homophobia's funny, isn't it? A gay Venezuelan makeup artist claims he was tortured and sexually assaulted while being held in a brutal maximum security prison in El Salvador. Andre Hernandez Romero was deported from America despite going through the legal asylum process and spent 4 months inside. The 31-year-old who left Venezuela to escape persecution over his sexuality is now back with his family there. The US claimed he's a gang member, which is ridiculous. Next, Canada's put the deportation of a non-binary American on hold due to the fear of persecution of queer people in the US. Angel Jenkel overstayed their visa after their Canadian boyfriend got ill and needed regular care. They were due to be deported this month, but a judge has pressed pause, citing the current conditions for LGBTQ+, non-binary and transgender persons in America. And an entirely transgender and non-binary cast will perform a reading of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night later in London on a live stream. It's seen as one of the queerest works in the playwright's oeuvre. Yeah, I said oeuvre, exploring gender fluidity and the complexities of identity. The show from theatre group Trans What You Will is introduced by Sir Ian McKellen, with proceeds going to the Not a Phase charity. No time to tell you that. It's London Trans Plus Pride tomorrow, hoping to beat last year's record attendance of more than 60,000 people. Existence and resistance is the theme. And the queer-inclusive Metropolitan Community Church in Sydney, Australia is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Subscribe to Pride Daily so you never miss an episode. I'm Kev McGraw. See you next week.